Now, the border standoff is escalating. Governor Abbott is bolstering the razor wire fence along a border park that's at the center of the dispute. GOP leaders, including the governors of at least 7 states, are backing Abbott in this showdown with Biden. Meantime, the president is facing growing calls from Democrat lawmakers to federalize the Texas National Guard. But Abbott says he is not backing down.
And what Texas is asserting is our Article 1, Section 10 right of self-defense, because the president of the United States is not fulfilling his duty to enforce the laws passed by Congress that deny illegal entry into the United States. The Biden administration has really, truly abdicated its responsibility to secure the border and enforce the laws. Texas, very simply, is securing the border. And so we put up the razor wire that you were talking about, Bill, and we put up all these barricades that actually have denied illegal entry. And as you pointed out also in that screen, that there are criminals coming across our border. Texas has a right as a state to stop criminals from coming into our state, to make arrests of those criminals. The immigration system and the border issue is the primary issue in America right now. This is an issue upon which Joe Biden gets a grade of F and deserves to be fired.
Ari, the governor wrote this in his statement to the Biden administration very clearly. He said the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state the right reasons. I've already declared an invasion to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. And he says that authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. This is almost like a page out of history. It is Texas versus the president.
Now, I don't know about articles and clauses. I do know that the governor is right. And think about it simply. Why is it legal for sanctuary cities to defy the federal government to let illegal immigrants in, but it's not legal for Texas to defy the federal government to keep illegal immigrants out? It makes no sense. So yes, since we know sanctuary cities are somehow legal, what Governor Abbott is doing is not only legal, it's moral. It is the right thing, because if you're going to come to America, as we want immigrants to do, as my mother did, I'm a first-generation American, come here legally, don't come here illegally. And good for Governor Abbott for finally doing something about it, because Joe Biden won't.
Kaylee, let's talk about what if. Texas sort of has Biden in the corner. What if Texas doesn't comply? What is Biden going to do? Is he going to send in the military? Is he going to force Texas to actively open the border? There's a lot that could happen, and there's a lot at stake.
Well, progressives are saying it's time for you to control the federal or the Texas National Guard. So he has pressure from progressives. I doubt he'll do that. He'll probably let this play out in court. But look, these governors who are supporting Texas are exactly right. You had Governor Kemp, who just came out and said, I support Texas. Governor Ron DeSantis just put out a video where he laid out constitutional law in no uncertain terms. He said Daniel Horowitz brings up Federalist Paper number 46, which allows the states to mitigate federal action in certain circumstances, including this one, Article 1, Section 10. You point out the powers given to a state when there is an invasion, and it can be described as nothing less than that. But for all the people who say, Texas, you can't do this, common law doesn't allow this, okay, what about President Biden? He is the executive branch. He must enforce the laws of Congress, namely the Immigration and Nationality Act, which says the Attorney General shall deport certain classes of illegal immigrants. He's ignoring the laws of Congress. So don't give us an education lesson in constitutional law, Mr. President. Go back and read the Constitution, because you're defying the laws of Congress.
And we have that video, Kaylee, so I want to play it for viewers. This is Governor Landry and Governor DeSantis, who are both standing by Abbott. This is their support. Watch.
We support legal, not illegal immigration. We stand with Governor Abbott and Texas in reminding the federal government that under our Constitution, states are still sovereign, and we have the right to protect our citizens.
If the Constitution was originally understood to mean that a state could not protect itself against an invasion, that the federal government could force a state to allow an invasion, the Constitution would have never been ratified in the first place. All of this is just nonsense what Biden's doing. Texas has every right to stand its ground. It's not just a Texas issue, it's ultimately an American issue, and if we don't have sovereignty in this country, then we're not going to be a country anymore.
And Marie, in addition to voicing their support, and articulating why legally it is sound. DeSantis says essentially every state is a border state right now, and that's reflected. For example, Fox News poll, 41% of Americans say it's the #1 top issue. I argue you can't really call it immigration. It's a larger bucket of a secure national sovereignty, and it's not playing out that way in Biden's eyes.
Well, look, I agree that it's a very important issue for voters for a number of reasons. You're absolutely right. It's not Biden versus Texas, though. It's actually the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court this week weighed in and ruled against Texas in one of the issues related to the border that he was trying to do. So you can't decide when you like Supreme Court decisions and when you don't. Democrats have had to learn that the hard way at times. So I think the Supreme Court will increasingly be weighing in here. But I found very interesting reporting we're getting today that Donald Trump and his allies are pressuring Republicans in Congress not to come to some sort of compromise on the border and immigration. We actually know that they're getting pretty close. Senators from both parties are working very hard here. Yesterday, Mitch McConnell told the Republican caucus that they're in a tough position because Trump doesn't actually want Biden to be able to, quote, get a win on this by signing something, even though signing that piece of bipartisan legislation would help with the border. Wouldn't fix it,
HR 2
but it would help. But there are a lot of Republicans who believe that this compromise, Democrats control the Senate and Republicans control the House. We have to compromise. They are close. Donald Trump is telling his allies not to vote for it so he can run on it in November. That, to me, is dereliction of duty. Biden is ready to sign something if Congress will send it to him. And
they had 2 years.
And Republicans should get on board.
Republicans didn't need to hear that from Donald Trump. The votes weren't there before Donald Trump said anything.
Yes.
That's why Mitch McConnell said what he did.
We don't know yet. They're still
you just framed it.
You just framed it. There's not enough support for a compromise.
You just framed it like Donald Trump swanned into the Senate and is bullying Mitch McConnell.
That's exactly what he's doing.
And that is horse manure.
Exactly what he's
that
doing.
is exactly the way that it was written by the media. But I know myriad Republicans in the House, nothing was going to get past them, not in an election year. And it is not with the voters either. The first thing that Joe Biden tried to do when he got into office was an asylum bill to grant every illegal migrant in this country asylum and to also give those who Trump deported to let them return legally. And Nancy Pelosi, because she's a smart politician, she wouldn't even take it up. So everybody listening needs to remember that when Karine Jean-Pierre and all the liars in the Biden administration bring up that the Republicans' fault. And I just want to highlight that the likes of Greg Casar, the Democrat representative from the Texas House, and Joaquin Castro, when they tell Joe Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard, please try to send the military to seize the border and ensure that illegal migrants continue to flow into this country and to violate the very law that Joe Biden is supposed to enforce. Because from sea to shining sea and in every town and city in this country, people are going to vote for any Republican to make sure that this stops.
And I have to insert this about the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court decision that just came out this week, that was regarding an injunction in the interim while we wait for the It's while we wait for the final.
They kicked it. Just a quick fact check. Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency for 2 years. They did nothing. They had an opportunity to do it. What did they do? They took 89 executive actions to roll back Trump's border policy. Those are facts, inescapable facts.
And that Supreme Court, it wasn't a decision, it wasn't an opinion, it kicked it back to the Fifth Circuit. This will continue legally.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.